Welcome to episode number 273 of the Marine Layer podcast. We'll discuss the Mariners' weekend in Anaheim, a few notes and nuggets about this Mariners rotation and how they should think about it coming up to this MLB trade deadline. Speaking of the MLB trade deadline, the price for Eugenio Suarez is insane. We'll talk about it.
Your guys' reminder, if you want to listen to these episodes, watch these episodes, and check out everything we're doing, it's all over at our website, marinelayerpod.com. If you're listening to these episodes, make sure to download, please rate and review, leave it 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, and please hit subscribe on our channel. It really does help. It's the best way you can support us. If you want your merch, again, we're in the peak of summer here. We've got hats, we got t-shirts, or if you want to gear up for the long sleeve seasons too, we've got hoodies and long sleeve shirts, like the whole 9 yards. It's all over at our site. We'd love to see you wearing the merch around. Seeing people wear the merch around has been super cool, and we'd love to see more of it. You can get involved with our Patreon. You can check out our live show schedule. That's all at our website, marinelayerpod.com, and then follow us across socials, all social media at marinelayerpod.
Let's get it rolling.
The pitch from Acevedo. A drive deep to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. 1-1 from Jansen. There you go. Left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio. Oh, baby, what a moment. Tie ball game at 7-7.
And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network. Recording on Sunday evening, July 27th. I'm thankful to say I'm done watching the Mariners play in Anaheim. Again, it happens every single time they play in Anaheim. Something happens, and they don't play well enough. Why are they not playing well enough? The Angels stink.
Dude, it's like when Julio starts playing well, because Anaheim's like his sanctuary of offense, the rest of the team just falters against the grain. It's like Julio does great. Rest of the team doesn't, and then they lose to the Angels. They don't win series against the Angels in Anaheim. And I'm like, it is astounding that they cannot win series on the road against that team, but it continues to happen.
And you could say, oh, it was like really close. Logan Gilbert had a pretty tough 5th inning today. If there was a couple of calls that went his way, maybe things work out differently in that game. You could also go back to game 1 of the Mariners, game 1 of the series, and say, oh, the Mariners could have easily now lost 3 of 4 when Andres Munoz has the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th inning and Nolan Schanuel line one out to left field. If it was, I don't know, hit in a different direction, then that result might have not been so favorable. So, I think things worked out the way they should have worked out with the 2 teams splitting the series. But I think it all boils down to like what we watched here on Sunday. And I'm going to try and put like some clamps on myself of how much I'm complaining, because as we're sitting here right now, Lyle, like the playoff race is shaking out very favorably for the Mariners. There's really only one other team outside the playoff picture, which I guess outside or currently tied for the playoff position right now, the Texas Rangers, that the Mariners currently have to worry about. So that makes the games a little less stressful in terms of what you're chasing. But you get opportunities to play teams like the Angels, and it's Logan Gilbert versus Kyle Hendricks on a Sunday. Kyle Hendricks is topping out at 86 miles an hour. He throws about as hard as I do. It looks like he's just lobbing it in there. And the Mariners had 2 hits against him.
Yeah, it took Cal Raleigh till the 3rd time through the order to get any runs against the guy, and which, of course, he just smashed his 41st homer of the year, which is a crazy number to say here on July the 27th as we're recording in its own right. But it really is, it is amazing that the Mariners get up against these arms that they should beat when they go out and beat the Scubles of the world, and they beat the Crochets of the world when they beat them in Boston, and they even went out and won the Jacob Mizorowski game despite not really doing any damage against him himself. But then when you go face the Kyle Hendrickses of the world, you get blanked. I playing the Angels in Anaheim just puts my brain in a pretzel. It doesn't make any sense. The results just are flabbergasting. You can't really take away anything significant from it. I just walk away dumbfounded every time, because we're now going to sit on 3 years where they haven't won a series in that ballpark.
And there's no reason. The Angels team hasn't really even changed that much over the last 3 years. The only thing the Angels change about their current roster, because they never sell, they never tear down, what they essentially do, the Angels process as a baseball team is that they draft a college kid in the first round and promote him within a year. That's the only additions to their roster. That, and they sign free agents who don't really fit at all.
Within a year, within like a month.
Depends if they're a pitcher or if they're a hitter or not. I mean, Christian Moore was drafted last year and got promoted this year.
That's true.
So they actually were kind of patient with him, shockingly patient.
But
if Tyler Bremner has any bullets left in his arm, he's going to be pitching in the bullpen soon.
But like Nolan Chanowell took him a month and a half to get called up. It was crazy.
Yeah, he had like 15 minor league games. Zach Neto, I think, it was less than a year for Neto.
He was really fast too. And it's crazy he's been as good as he's been, because usually when you give some guy that little development time, it doesn't usually go that well. But for him, he's made it work.
Yeah, he's made it work pretty well. But that's really the only additions to this Angels roster. And the Mariners, at some points, have tried to get better and tried to improve their roster, and yet the results aren't really any different. And as you said, I don't think it's like any one thing you can point your finger to. We saw some good offense in this series. We also saw some points, like today, where the offense just, for some reason, wasn't good enough against arms that just flat out aren't good. Do I have an answer to that question? No, not really. It could be the Mariners having the ultimate pitching advantage, and the Mariners pitching doesn't live up to its ultimate pitching advantage. It's just a whole number of things. I don't think it's the weather. I mean, like, what are we digging into here? Like, it's so weird. And like, they could go play the A's this week and win that series 2 of 3, no problem. But if it's the Angels playing in this ballpark, it doesn't really work out. I'd say that if there is a positive to draw from this series, we do need to talk, I guess, a little bit about Julio. I'm not saying we're going to rewrite his season here, but he did have an objectively very good series down in Anaheim. His road numbers this year are, he's always had good road numbers. These are the best road numbers he's ever had this year. His road numbers are pretty close, actually, to what he hit as a rookie overall for the season. His rookie season, he was at a 146 WRC plus. On the road this season, Julio's at a 148 and has a 900 OPS right now, and is striking out 16.7% of the time. If you were to try and explain to us before the season that a Julio breakout season is going to have him hitting near 300, striking out less than 20% of the time, and have an OPS of 900, I mean, you'd sit there and say yes. And the Mariners have gotten that. Half of that. Not counting his home numbers. But for some reason, just like the Mariners playing in Anaheim, Julio's road hot streak continues. And it's great. Maybe him and Cal should just play every game on the road the rest of the year.
Another thing I just don't really get. I don't know how much. Did we talk about this on a couple shows last week? I don't know if we did. This might be our first time bringing up some of Julio's splits, right? Home versus on the road.
Yeah, we might have mentioned it a couple times. Maybe the Tiger series too, but you can bring it back up.
So just to give people context, you mentioned what his road numbers are. And to just put it all into one, I'll just read them both out loud here. But Julio's road numbers as of today, well, you said his WRC plus is 148 now on the road?
Yeah.
Okay, because entering Saturday, it was 145. I guess after Saturday's game where he hit another homer, it went up. But I'll just read you the numbers from a couple days ago because it's all right here in front of me. But entering Saturday's game, Julio was hitting 297 on the road, 13 homers, an 889 OPS, and a 145 WRC plus. Julio's numbers at home, and these are unchanged over the last few days since the team's been on the road. He's hitting 213, 4 home runs, a 593 OPS, and an 81 WRC plus. I don't get it. I don't really know what to make of it because Julio hasn't always had problems hitting at home. In fact, his first couple of years hitting in T-Mobile Park, he was really good. His rookie year, he was very, very good. His sophomore year in 23, he was above average. His OPS was about 780 at home. But the last 2 years, I don't know what's happened.
He's what we thought he was on the road, and he's a minor leaguer at home. And it can't be the ballpark. The ballpark has not changed in 4 years. It has not changed one bit. Why is it now that he's struggling?
You want the drastic comparisons here, and this is serious. But Juan Soto has about an 880 OPS this season. Julio on the road is Juan Soto, and at home he's Abe Toro.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
I mean,
thanks.
Is that wrong?
No, it's not. And you take Juan Soto on the road, but you also kind of want Juan Soto at home because then it gets everyone not pissed at you. He doesn't even need to be Juan Soto at home. He can be Zach Neto at home.
He can be. I mean, he could be. I don't know.
Isaac Paredes.
Dude, I mean, like, he could be Cole Young over the last month at home. If Cole Young, like, if you look at Cole Young's numbers over the last month or so, last 5 weeks, Cole's been about a 110, 115 WRC plus hitter. If Julio was that at home, even if he wasn't going to hit for crazy power inside that ballpark, and he did most of his power damage on the road, like, sure, who cares? Then you're a above average hitter at home and a superstar on the road, and that leads to an MVP caliber season. But like, to have a 593 OPS at home is where you run into issues.
And Julio's never had a better home road split, which makes this, even more fascinating. His best home road split he's ever had in his career is at home his rookie year. He had a 162 WRC plus. That's the best he's ever had home or road in his 4 years. Not even him on the road this year is better than what he was at home his rookie year. Like, again, nothing's changed with the ballpark. Pitchers do pitch him differently now, that's for sure. But they pitch him differently on the road, too, and he has no problem. Not as much of a problem, at least. And you just want a little bit of this road production to come on at home, and then we can get a little bit of improvement in Julio's full season numbers. And then you could see at weekends like this, where Julio homers, Randy continues to torment pitchers in July, and Cal Raleigh has his first mini slump, I would say, of the season over the last week or so. But then in the last couple of days, he hits homers number 40 and 41, and you're like, okay, with a little bit more supplemental offense, this looks really good. This is something we can believe in right here. Also, shout out Cal. Immaculate timing as soon as Judge goes on the IL. 40 and 41 right out of the ballpark.
And there's odds now that have Cal Raleigh as the MVP favorite, above Judge. Mm-hmm. This is getting very real, people. This Cal Raleigh MVP race and this MVP hype has gotten very, very real, as if it wasn't already real before.
Yeah, let me pull out the line, Lyle. Sometimes it is better to be lucky than good.
It is.
Not to say Cal's not good, but Aaron Judge going on the injured list does nothing but help him. Now, if he continues to hit a home run every single day that Aaron Judge is on the injured list, when Aaron Judge is off the injured list, Cal Raleigh will be comfortably leading in the American League MVP odds. I could confidently say that.
And we'll see how long Judge is out. I know he avoided a big scare, which is the good thing, and the Judge isn't going to miss a bunch of time. But is it going to be a week for Judge? Is it going to be a month for Judge? We're going to have to see. And he's also not going to play the field when he gets back. He's going to have to DH for a bit. So it is interesting. Now, I'm just going to speculate on something with Julio because all you can do on this is speculate because there's nothing that can be backed up here with a box score or with actual factual data. But I mean, is it possible what's happened with him at home the last couple of years in terms of the lack of offensive production? Could it be mental? Could it be something about trying to live up to the hype of his stardom at home and having less pressure on him in front of all the Mariner fans on the road? Because when you look at the box score and you look at all the numbers and you look at the underlying data, like, there's not a lot you can really read into that says, well, this makes sense why this is happening. No, it's head-scratching why he's gone from such a good hitter at home early in his career to where it is now. The only thing I could even speculate about is if it's something that potentially is the mental game.
I was going to say mental, yes, but not mental because he's trying to impress the fans, because he's also trying to impress the fans on the road. There's not as many, but there's still plenty of people on the road. People still cheer or chirp you on the road. That happens wherever you go. And it's, there's still a lot of people out there. I was actually more thinking that it could be the mental side of just physically hitting in the ballpark and not seeing it, as simple as not seeing the ball carry as much, makes you try to swing harder, and swinging harder is not a good thing. Could be that.
Well, swinging harder leads to power. You want to swing hard.
But also leads to strikeouts and getting out of your approach. Or sorry, let me reword that. That wasn't worded correctly. Swinging hard is good. Trying to swing hard is not good. Because trying to swing hard means you get out of your mechanics. That's, I guess, more what I mean. I don't think Baseball Savant splits bat speed at home versus bat speed on the road. I would be curious to look at that. If someone does know where to look that up, drop us a comment, send us an email, wherever is convenient for you. I'd be curious to see that if he feels like, I guess, he has to swing a little bit harder at home to make up for it. But also, Lyle, it could just be baseball, that he faces better pitchers at home than he does on the road. It could be that.
Yeah, it could be. But it's happened 2 years in a row now. Isn't that a little bit of a big sample size to say, oh, he just happens to be facing good arms at home? I mean, they face Skubal on the road
next year.
What's up?
I'd say let's see what happens next year.
Well, I'm just saying, like, he crushed Skubal on the road, for example. That's the best pitcher in baseball.
Right. Things did work out, though. I mean, Skubal. So Skubal is the best pitcher in baseball, and he's incredibly nasty, and that changeup he has is one of the 5 best pitches in baseball this year, I think. He did throw it like belt buckle 86 hung.
Well, I'm just saying the Mariners have faced good pitchers on the road this year. It's not.
Yeah, absolutely they haven't, and Julio's hit them. Ultimately, things like this, it's hard to point at one specific thing that leads to this. Like Julio, by the way, striking out way more at home than striking out on the road. T-Mobile Park does increase strikeouts, so you do see that with Julio. The Mariners team in general, I mean, this kind of lines up with them as well. Their offense is one of the best in baseball on the road and one of the worst in baseball at home. How much of that is because of Julio? I don't know. But if it's a whole team thing, then it's not just a Julio thing that he's hitting a lot better on the road than he is at home. But we know he's just like, he's so good that you want him to hit at home. And it's like, yeah, okay, buddy, someone else can use this excuse, but maybe not you.
Yeah, it could be. Ultimately, again, if he could just up those numbers at home a little bit, it would pay so many dividends. You don't have to be a superstar hitter the way you're hitting on the road at home. But if he could be league average at home and a superstar on the road, that is night and day different than what you're getting from him right now.
If he's a league average hitter at home, he's a legit all-star.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people want to see. And they want to see him get selected for an all-star game and not have to complain about it. Like that happened this year. It's a very reasonable thing to say when you combine that offense. Let's say that's a 125 WRC plus if he's league average at home and doing what he's currently doing on the road, paired with the defense, paired with the base running. I mean, that's a 6-win player right there.
I was going to say, I'll take it a step further than a bona fide all-star. I'd say that's a top 7 to 8 finisher in MVP voting, because if you're going to be a 6-WAR player, there's not many guys in the American League that are going to up you.
Yeah. That's right. So we'll see. Thankfully, there are still some good road environments for Julio to hit in down the stretch this year. I think they'll need Julio's bat playing in Sacramento this week because the A's score a lot of runs. Nick Kurtz just had a 4-home run game this weekend. He is terrifying, by the way, Lyle. Holy smokes. This is off topic. Do you count Nick Kurtz's 4-home run game when his 4th home run came against a position player?
I mean, it's in the record books. You do have to count it. Now,
But do you count it?
Yeah, I'll count it. Now, who has the more impressive game between him and Mike Cameron, let's say? It's Cammy, because Cammy did it. Well, Cammy hit all 4 of his home runs so early in the game, but Cammy was also doing it off actual pitchers. That being said, Kurtz had one of the best offensive games, period, you may ever see. I mean, he drove in 8 runs, he scored 6, he hit 4 homers. Like, that's pretty wild.
He was pretty close to having 5. There was a handful of ballparks his double would have gone out of. But it's the same for a lot of these guys. Josh Hamilton's 4-home run game, he smacked a double off the middle of the center field wall back in 2011, I think it was. So these things happen with the 4-home run game. Anyway, very impressive. That's who the Mariners are facing this weekend. I would not be totally shocked at some point, Lyle, given Nick Kurtz's pace, that they could intentionally walk him at some point. Wouldn't be totally shocked.
Well, I don't know. Should I be mean and make a joke or no?
This is your podcast, dog.
Well, I was gonna say, or you could just have him hit a foul ball home run that actually lands in the right center field seats.
That was not great this weekend. That was not a great call.
There was a home run call this weekend that said on one of those homers that said he hit it foul, but it landed out in the right center field seats in Houston. So, you probably saw it online if you're online because it was
it did make its rounds.
Yeah, it did.
That was do you want to talk about this rotation now?
Yeah, we can talk about the rotation.
Okay. I don't know if you people had seen my reaction that I posted on our social channels on Friday. I had to get a few thoughts off my chest when it comes to how the Mariners are approaching this deadline, who they should go out and target, and who they should go out and acquire. And I think we can all sit here and we can agree. The Mariners need bats and bullpen arms. I think you get a pretty good consensus from most Mariner fans that that's what they need. And theoretically, you shouldn't need anything from your rotation. This rotation's supposed to be your anchor. It's supposed to lead you where you need to go at all times. And you see a matchup like today on Sunday, and you have Logan Gilbert versus Kyle Hendricks, and you should say, all right, you're going out there and you're winning this game today. Logan's going to outpitch Kyle Hendricks, and you're going to take 3 or 4 from the Angels in a game you need. You could gain a game on the Astros, which, by the way, the Astros got swept this weekend, and the Mariners gained 1 game on them. 1 game.
Let me just stop you right there. We had comments flooding a week ago on our social post, on our reaction after the Mariners-Astros series at home, where we were pissed off that they didn't sweep them because they blew that 3-0 lead on Sunday. Well, people said, relax. You guys don't take you guys take everything for granted. They still just won 2 of 3. Guys, we said they won 2 of 3 a million times. We prefaced it with that. Also, imagine what would have happened if the Mariners won that game on Sunday, held the lead, and also won 1 more in Anaheim this week. You know how many games they'd be out of first place by right now? 1. If you're watching on YouTube, I've got the finger up. They'd be out by 1 game. There's a reason we were mad last Sunday. That was a monumental game that they ended up that they ended up blowing that could have a serious change of, could have a serious course of action in how the rest of the season goes in terms of the AL West. The Mariners are 4 out, they could be 1 out.
And unfortunately, a big reason they lost both of those games, Lyle, which is to get back to the point of this topic I want to bring up, is the starting rotation. Because Brian Wu, last Sunday, had a 3-0 lead and coughed it up. Logan Gilbert today didn't have a lead. It was a scoreless game, was cruising right along, gave up a 4 spot in the 5th inning. And those are just two little things in what has been a season-long trend for this rotation, where there have been points where they have been very, 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 very good, and then there's points where they have looked like a middling rotation unit, which should not happen based off the names and the talent they have on this roster. And I'm not right now saying 100% you need to go remove somebody from the rotation and go trade for a starter at this deadline. But if this rotation continues to float in the middle of baseball in terms of production, and they're not taking this step forward, are we so sure they should rule something out? Are we so sure?
You just said to me a couple minutes ago, this is your podcast. You can do what you want. I'm going to spin it right back at you. This is your podcast. You can do what you want. But you talking about the idea of the Mariners trading for 2 months of Dylan Cease is probably how a lot of fans feel when I get yapping about Kyle Tucker, which, by the way, I'll continue to do because they're going to get him. But point being, how I feel about you yapping about the Mariners trading for Dylan Cease is probably how a lot of fans feel when I talk about Kyle Tucker, because those fans would say to me what I'm probably going to say to you here. And just like I don't believe what the fans say, you may not believe what I say. But I'm going to sit here and say it's probably a waste of your energy because I don't think it's happening.
Is it the worst idea in the world, though?
No, I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad idea. It just feels like the Mariners aren't even considering that. Like, I doubt they've even called the Padres about the potential idea.
I don't think so either. And it's not some easy logistical decision to make, because if you trade for Dylan Cease, you're going to have to remove one of, assuming Bryce Miller comes back, Bryce, Brian Wu, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, or Luis Castillo. Like, the question will be, who do you take out of the rotation if you're trading for Dylan Cease? And I'm going to be honest, Lyle, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't have a definitive answer for you right now on who would you take out of the rotation. But I also sit here and look at it this way. Because I said at the beginning of my rant here that the Mariners need to go upgrade and get bats at the deadline. The Mariners' offense this year ranks higher than the Mariners' pitching staff does this year. And you would say, guys, you also said you want to address the Mariners' bullpen heading into this deadline right now. And that's fair. Bullpen pitches the minority of innings for this team, not the majority, the minority of innings for this team. I'd say a lot of what has lacked in terms of the run prevention this year has been the performance by the starting rotation. And I don't really like as much sitting here and saying, oh, the Mariners need to slam dunk upgrade one of the best units of their team, without a doubt. But the unit that's struggling the most in year 10, needing to make the playoffs in one of the weakest American leagues ever, doesn't need to be upgraded right now. I don't understand that.
Are we in the trust tree here?
I think so.
Dylan Cease has not been very good this year.
Great. So is your rotation. It's not been very good. But you know what? Dylan Cease has better stuff than most guys in your rotation.
Does he?
Yes.
He has great stuff, but so do a lot. Well, I mean, okay, stuff-wise, yes. That, like, if you're talking about the pure stuff on his pitches, it maybe only rivals Logan, because as good as Brian Wu's fastballs are, like, his stuff of his breaking balls is not what Dylan Cease's is, obviously. But, I mean, Dylan Cease's ERA is sitting at 4.6, and by Baseball Reference, he's worth not even a full win this year. And the guy's made 21 starts.
I'm not even saying this is going to work out, but it's just all about what kind of risk you want to take in the position you're in right now. Do you want to risk that you make your acquisitions for bullpen and offense at the deadline and your rotation continues to not perform and the Rangers pass you up, who, by the way, have tied you right now? Do you want to risk that? Because your rotation implodes and think about this. Think about it this way, right? Because you believe in this rotation, and the rotation is going to be the long-term success of this team, and you hope to invest a lot of money in those guys and keep them here a long time. If the rotation doesn't perform at the end of the year and you miss the playoffs, what do you say? If it's like the worst unit on your team, you get to that Jerry Dipoto end-of-season press conference, the bullpen you added to was good, the offense you added to was good, the rotation you added to was right in the middle, you didn't add to was right in the middle of baseball, and you miss the playoffs in year 10, and you're sitting on one appearance in 10 seasons. What do you say?
Jerry's going to pull out a 4.25 week stretch in where they were the fourth best rotation in baseball at home. And he'll say that in his presser to end the year.
Can I get a serious answer? Or that was a serious answer?
I mean, that's half serious. I mean, that's what he does. Like, do you think that, like, do you think I'm totally making that up? Like, you know he extrapolates numbers like that to use in his press conferences. If you want a serious answer, I don't know what they'd say. I mean, I can't fault them for not wanting to trade for a starting pitcher. Like, because like you just said, when all five guys are healthy, and it's the five that you expected to start the year with, Castillo, Gilbert, Kirby, Wu, Miller, who do you yank out of that rotation? You would have to make an incredibly difficult decision, one that might ruffle some feathers in that clubhouse, for a guy that, like, if it's Dylan Cease, if that's the example we're using, like, hasn't been all that great this year. And I know he's had 2 top 5 Cy Young finishes in his career, and both of them have come within the last 4 seasons. But I don't know what you say. Like, I honestly don't have a good answer for this, because I don't want to sit up there and say, and hear them say how, well, things will just get fixed next year because our rotation shouldn't do this again. That's just blind faith.
That's loser talk. I don't want to hear about next year.
No, it is total loser talk, and it's also blind faith, because you can't predict injuries in a rotation. You can't predict regression in a rotation. It's too hard. I don't want to hear that, but I also, like, I don't know how to sit there and get mad at them that they didn't trade for a starter. So I again, like, I don't really know what the answer is here, which is why I gave the answer that he's going to say, like, oh, in a 4.25 week stretch on Tuesdays at home in the month of May to the month of July, we were the best rotation in baseball.
I'll say this. At what point do you want to take a risk to upgrade your roster, your entire roster, not just your offense? Like, if you're sitting there thinking, it's like, how desperate are they at this deadline? They always like to make calculated moves. They like good values like Josh Naylor. That's exactly what that trade was. They saw a very good player for the right price as a rental, and they went out and they were aggressive and they got him. Okay. At what point do you sit there and think, I do love this rotation, but we need to be better for 2 months, and we can't just wait and hope that they'll be better for 2 months?
So I'm going to throw it back to you now. I'm going to get past Dylan Cease. If you want to trade for a rotation arm, like, I got to hear some names. Like, who do you want if it's, say, not Dylan Cease and we get past him and it wouldn't be him, especially because there's no lock that he's been that great anyway. Who do you want? Like, Seth Lugo, as we're sitting here recording on Sunday night, just signed an extension to stay in Kansas City. So he's off the table. I mean, do you want Joe Ryan? Look, he's a stud, but he's got 2.5 years of control, so that's not some rental thing. Not only would he cost you the world, but you would be seriously shuffling around your rotation to the point where you're probably trading a starter away if you trade for Joe Ryan. You get past Joe Ryan, you get past Seth Lugo, you get past Dylan Cease. I don't know who you're trading for that you would say, yeah, I'm yanking somebody out of this rotation for somebody we'd acquire. I don't really know.
How does Sonny Gray sound?
Like, uninspiring.
He struck a lot of batters out.
That's the guy you're yanking somebody out of the rotation for, like 36-year-old Sonny Gray?
Oh, I'm not yanking him out of the rotation, but I'm saying if the Mariners sit there and they think that they need to go, they've decided they want better production out of their rotation, maybe.
I'm going to use this again. At least just by baseball reference, Sonny Gray is not even worth a full win this year. He's made 21 starts. I don't know what starter you're trading for here.
I'm not saying there's a perfect option out there, but what I am saying is that there's a deadline coming up on Thursday. The Mariners are under the pressure of having to make the playoffs. They have to. And I think they know that too. And that they could be prepared to do anything. And that's why I like Cease, dog. I mean, based on all the starters that are available, there's not like a slam dunk ace besides Joe Ryan available, and I don't think the Mariners are giving up the cost to go get Joe Ryan at this point. The rest of the guys are all older and definitely not as productive as some of the members of the starting rotation, and certainly wouldn't be perfect. But if you sit there and think that a guy could be a fit for your rotation, and you are desperate for better production, then then maybe you go do it. Because, like, what's the other option? Is the Mariners front office going to go walk down into the clubhouse, sit the starting rotation down, and say, guys, got to pitch better? Like, we need you to pitch better, otherwise we're getting fired in 2 months.
They do need them to pitch better.
Those are the two options.
They do need them to pitch better. I'm sorry, like, that's the solution here. Logan Gilbert and George Kirby have to pitch like Logan Gilbert and George Kirby, because otherwise, no moves you make are going to even be relevant. If those two don't pitch the way they're supposed to pitch, they are not going to be a playoff team. I think it's basically plain and simple. And look, I know Kirby went 6-2 this weekend. I know he gave them length, and they won his start, and he ultimately came out of it with pretty decent numbers. But, like, he labored his way through that one. It wasn't the cleanest 6-2 in the world. He really had to battle through some innings at points. And George Kirby still as a whole on the year, like, just hasn't quite looked like the George Kirby we're used to seeing. Now, Logan Gilbert, in his previous start, looked like peak Logan Gilbert, and through a few innings here on Sunday, it was looking like the same thing. And then it all collapsed. Now, he got royally fucked by the umpire behind the plate today. That was a joke. The umpiring crew all weekend was a flat-out disgrace.
Bad. It was not good.
I mean, that's just a blanketed statement. An umpiring crew fucking sucks. What a shocker. But, I mean, Logan, to be fair, did kind of let it unravel. That umpiring crew was a total disgrace and should be legitimately fined and sent down to the minors. But Logan's got to find a way to put that behind him a little bit and not have the inning unravel. So, yes, that's what it's going to come down to. And I know it sucks to feel like, well, we can't go acquire something to fix an issue and essentially duct tape an issue. but it is going to have to come through those two guys, if you ask me. To have this season be what you want it to be, those two have to pitch like aces to top-end starters. It can't really be what it's been for a lot of this year, where Logan's not giving him length, Kirby's not quite giving him the efficiency that he's had in years past. It has to be through that.
And we're not even mentioning here an issue that will probably pop up, or not an issue, but a conversation we're going to have within the next few weeks. Our guy Logan Evans has been pitching very well at the major league level, but Bryce Miller is going to pitch in a rehab start this week. What? This week, right?
Yeah, but I would assume Bryce is going to throw at least 2 rehab outings, if not 3. Like, I would still imagine Bryce is a couple weeks away. So then you can make that decision when you need to make it. Honestly, I'll throw the idea out there because we assume Logan Evans is on some innings limit. I would assume that's also part of the reason he only went 5 innings the other day and got pulled after 75-ish pitches, is because they're monitoring his workload, which would make sense. He threw about 100 innings last year. He's not going to go throw 180 innings or something like that this year. They are smart to manage his workload. But if George has had injury issues and Logan's had injury issues and Logan Evans is on an innings limit and Bryce is battling the bone spur, I mean, is there some world they'd think about going with a 6-man rotation down the stretch? I know that starters hate that, and they hate to get out of their routine, and they hate to have things twisted around in the middle of the year. But if you're worried about all these injuries and you think the extra days of rest might help some guys, is it a thought?
A thought, sure, especially given how the Mariners use their bullpen, because they essentially ignore the last spot in the bullpen. For some reason, they pretend like they only have 12 pitchers instead of 13 pitchers. But I don't think it's actually going to happen. I think Bryce is going to come up when he's back, and Logan's going to go back down to Tacoma, where they can very closely monitor his innings and essentially throw him to the exact pitch count that they want before pulling him out of the game, because the games don't really matter as much in Tacoma as they do up in Seattle. But the conversation I was going to bring up in this case is, what is Bryce Miller going to look like? Because I think the Mariners want Bryce Miller to look like Bryce Miller of last year over the final probably a little bit less than 2 months he's going to spend in this rotation down the stretch. What if he doesn't?
Then do you go back to Logan Evans?
Yeah, you might. But this is part of the conversation of acquiring a starter, right? So if Bryce looks like Bryce of earlier this year, well, then that kind of answers the question for you of Logan Evans on an innings limit or going out and getting a starter who might actually be really good for you.
I just don't know who that's going to be. And I think if the Mariners are going to give up significant capital, it's not going to be for a starter. I would just be very surprised, especially a rental starter. I think if Bryce doesn't look like Bryce Miller, yeah, they'll just let Logan get back into the rotation and continue to pitch, and they'll just monitor his workload. And then obviously when you get to the playoffs, you don't need all 5 starters. So if Logan's reached his full innings threshold by then they would just shut him down and use the other guys.
And again, we support Logan Evans so much, and I understand the pitch count thing here. But as you're moving down the stretch, and you're just looking for the maximum output from your rotation, right? Because you're trying to make the playoffs. Playoffs is the goal here, and you need every starter to do everything they can in this point. Again, that's where it comes back to innings limit Logan, or potentially having a starter at the deadline. It's if you're Jerry Dipoto, do you want to risk that? You get you have Logan Evans who could only throw 4 innings on a given night because of a pitch count they put him on and an innings limit, and then you have to put your bullpen out there for 5 innings, and then your bullpen could get lit up because you have to pitch the middle relievers, and you might have to pitch that 8th guy in the bullpen who you don't trust as much.
So your worry about the bullpen brings me to the conclusion I was always going to get to, which is if you're serious about the Mariners wanting to take a significant swing and a risk and really push their chips in at the deadline, then go trade for 2 legit dudes in the bullpen. Go trade for 2 top-end bullpen arms. If you want to see them take a risk, go get Griffin Jax and Joan Duran if both of them are available. Now, that's going to cost an absolute haul and a half where you're going to seriously empty out some of your prospect capital. But that would logistically make a lot more sense than going out and trying to trade for a starter. because I think your starters are who they are, and you have them in your system already. Again, if you want to go trade for Jax and Duran, that's taking a swing. That's kind of pushing your. I mean, not kind of. That is pushing your chips in, and then you have a bullpen. Of, by the way, then it's Munoz, Brash, Jax, Duran, Spire, Bizardo's the sixth, and like Vargas is the eighth guy, and you pick somebody else to be the seventh guy. I mean, it's those first five that really jump out.
That doesn't really solve the situation I just laid out. Like, it makes your bullpen a lot better. It makes it a little easier, but it doesn't solve the problem. The problem is you can't pitch your bullpen 5 innings every 5th day.
I just think they're going to roll with what they have in house, and even if it
you're
comes
probably
back,
right. You're probably right, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the safest decision to make.
Yeah, maybe not. And look, if they get into the postseason, you only have to use 4 starters, and you could decide who those starters will be. Sometimes teams only use 3. It could be 3.
Right.
But I get what you're saying, that you have to find a way to get there for the next 2 months. That's the other part of this, right? If you were going to trade for Dylan Cease and you want him to try to get you into the playoffs and get you over the top, they get into October. Is he even pitching in that playoff rotation? I wouldn't confidently say yes.
Yes, still, if you're trading for Dylan Cease, he's in your playoff rotation.
Well, exactly my point. You have to make that trade with the assumption he's pitching in the postseason for you. I don't know if I want 2025 Dylan Cease pitching in the postseason for me. I don't want him over Logan. I don't want him over Wu. I probably wouldn't take him over Kirby. And then it's about like Castillo and it's Miller and I don't know. I like, again, just plain and simple, Dylan Cease has not been prime Dylan Cease this year. It's that simple. He has been a little bit unlucky because his FIP is about a whole point lower than where his ERA is. But the results scream that this has not been his strongest year. His whip's sitting at 1.3, and he just hasn't been that valuable. Again, are you seriously taking him in a playoff rotation over the guys you already have in-house? I'm not confidently saying yes. You might be able to convince me in an argument, but I'm not confidently stamping my approval on Dylan Cease in a playoff rotation this year.
That's a fair argument to make, but I would just be more worried about August and September over October at this point, because those 2 months matters more than the latter month does right now.
I mean, if you're that set on a starter, do you just want to find some Tyler Anderson type guy to make a few starts?
It does not have to be Dylan Cease, but an arm to go out there every 5th day and potentially throw 6 innings for you is not the worst idea in the world, I don't think.
And I don't mean Tyler Anderson specifically. I mean some version of the Tyler Anderson they traded for in 2021 where he gave him a few starts and gave him a veteran rotation arm.
Oh, wow, they can go trade for Kyle Hendricks now. Apparently he's back.
Well, the M's won't have to get blanked by him anymore.
No, solving two problems at once: fill a rotation spot and make sure you never have to face Kyle Hendricks ever again this season. That's very positive.
Yeah. All right, we got 2 more topics to get to. The way the show's flowing, we should probably get to Gino next, and we'll save some serious positivity for the end because we are going to talk about Ichiro for a bit. But yeah, so we were talking through what could happen with Gino here, and let's start it with this because this is the primary topic. The asking price for him right now is out of this world.
And we'll also note that we did not note on Friday's episode because we weren't looking at the information, I think, then as we were recording. The Mariners still did say that Gino is a priority for them. So that has been out there. There has been 3 different reports that the Mariners are going to be ultra aggressive at this deadline, whether it be for Gino or whether it be in general for other guys in baseball. So it wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world to see the Mariners give up a good package to get a really good player to come back. The reports coming out about what the cost would be for Eugenio Suarez to be a Mariner or on any other team right now at this point on Sunday is incredibly high. So Francis Romero reported this. He tweeted this out about why the Yankees, who, by the way, over the weekend went and traded for a third baseman, but they didn't trade for Gino. They went and traded for Ryan McMahon of the Rockies. So we were like, no, we don't want him. We don't want him. And then the Yankees solved that problem for us by trading for him.
Yeah. In which I say, ha! I wanted no part of Ryan McMahon. Zero, zilch, nada, none. He can't hit. He strikes out. He would have been awful in this ballpark, and he's making way too much money.
The big reason that the Yankees did not go for Gino and that they pivoted to McMahon, because they definitely were talking to the Diamondbacks about Gino, but Romero reports that the talks between the Yankees and the Diamondbacks stalled because the Diamondbacks were asking for a major league player, another high-level prospect in AA or AAA, and then one lower-level prospect. Mind you, this is for 2 months of Gino. Not 2 years, 2 months of Gino. That's the cost. A big leaguer, a AA or AAA prospect, and a lower-level prospect in high A or low A. That's the cost right now. If you're a Mariner fan, are you comfortable giving that up for Gino?
Some people may say yes. That is a lot. To give somebody off your big league roster and a good prospect and a lottery ticket, it's a lot. Now, the other argument is there has never been a 35 home run player traded for at the deadline. It's never happened. Gino will be the first if it goes down, if a trade is executed. So there's two sides to this. Unprecedented player being dangled out there and a team not wanting to trade that type of haul for a rental.
Think about this. When I looked at the Mariners' options to trade, whatever combination of players you put together for like that package, have fun with it. Leave us your suggested trades in the comments. There's a whole bunch of options for you to piece that together. But whatever combo you piece together, I honestly don't think the farm system looks that much different after trading for Gino. Like, you overpay. Yeah, it's an overpay by far. Mm-hmm. But then you look at the farm system and you're like, oh, the farm system didn't drop at all in the rankings. They didn't lose really any blue chip prospects in this trade. This team still has depth on depth on depth when it comes to prospects. In this year, in the next year, and the year after that. So at that point, why not?
Right? And if we want to start digging into the weeds of trade deadline conspiracies here, there's a couple, but we can highlight them in different points here. Luke Raley hasn't played in 3 straight days as we sit here recording on Sunday night. Now, I don't know what's behind that. I don't know if he's battling some minor injury that hasn't really been disclosed. That is a little odd. The Mariners have faced righties in this Angels series, but Luke Raley hasn't played in 3 days.
If you could trade Luke Raley for Gino, would you do it?
Yeah. Yeah, I would, because if the package was Luke Raley, a top 100 prospect, let's assume it would be Harry Ford or Michael Arroyo, right? I can't imagine you're giving up, with a big league player, prospects that are going to rank much higher than that. They're not giving up Felny, and they're not giving up Farmello. They're certainly not giving up Farmello. I think he's one of their guys that they are very unwilling
Actually, if
to
you're
trade.
giving up Luke Raley, do you have to give up a top 100 prospect? I mean, you are giving up a legit big leaguer who, when he's healthy, is a 750 to 800 OPS. And has 3 years of control, by the way.
Again, 35 home run player, never traded at the deadline. And and you got to keep in mind, the Mariners have to outbid a lot of other teams. I know people were excited when they saw the Yankees traded for McMahon, because you saw a very prominent team get taken out of the Geno sweepstakes, and you think to yourself, oh, does this put the Mariners at the front? I don't know where they stand, but there's a lot of teams in on Geno, you guys. It's not just the Yankees and the Mariners. I mean, the Phillies are in on Geno. The Tigers are in on Geno. The Rangers and Astros may both be in on Geno. The Astros, we've heard some reports about. For all we know, there's mystery teams in on Geno. The Blue Jays could be in on Geno for all we know. There's a lot of teams out there. The Brewers could be another. There's a lot of teams out there that are calling Arizona about Eugenio Suarez. So the Mariners are going to have to put together a package if they want to win these sweepstakes that outbids the rest of those teams. So yeah, could you get away with it not trading for a top 100 prospect? It's possible if you were to trade away Luke Raley. But what are you going to do to win the deal? What are you going to do to outbid the other teams? It may take, let's say, Luke Raley, Harry Ford, and a lottery ticket.
Trading Luke Raley, that's a pretty big blow to your roster.
Yeah, but to answer your question, I guess I totally dodged the original question you asked. So let me answer. I'd probably do it. I'd do it. That's not a good podcast answer, and probably is not a good answer. I'd do it. And I say that for this reason. Yes, it's a blow to your roster. Yes, Luke Raley has a lot of club control. But I just listened to you yap for the last half hour here about how you have to push your chips in, and it has to be about this year, and it has to be about winning now. And if you go get the two best bats on the market in Gino and Naylor, not only does it signal that, but you still have options for right field going forward. I mean, one, that Kyle Tucker guy is going to be out there next winter, so you can obviously just simply throw him every penny you own and give him the contract, and he comes and plays here. So that's one easily fixable solution, and if it was up to me, I'm doing that right now. All right, now, to get past that, if they don't do that, in which I will throw a tantrum, if they don't do that, well, then come 2026, you still have Dom Canzone and Victor Robles, who could service a platoon in right field. Dom would hit against the righties. Robles would hit against the lefties. Robles can also come in later in the game as a defensive replacement if you need him. There is options for right field going forward in 2026. So to move off of Luke Raley for Gino doesn't totally hamper your future plans, especially if you believe what you're now seeing from Dom Canzone is real and could stick long term.
Yeah, so I do it. This brings back to a second question. What if the Diamondbacks actually are okay keeping Gino? What if they're only okay trading him at the deadline if they're going to get this egregious overpay of a contract or an egregious overpay of a trade? They sell off some of their other pieces to restock their farm system or add some supplementary pieces to their roster, but they realize, look, we really like Gino. We actually might want to sign Gino to an extension after the season or offer him a contract when he hits free agency and he wants to stay, and he thinks it would be sort of like a token of appreciation if they don't trade him at this deadline and help themselves when he is a free agent and they can go out and they could sign him long term. Like what if that's the case? And if he walks, oh well, we offered you a QO and we get a draft pick out of it.
The longer this trade deadline goes on, the more I think that's actually some possibility. Because of what you just mentioned, it's not like the Diamondbacks walk away empty-handed if they don't trade Gino, because they're either going to get him back. You know Gino likes it there. He's talked about it. He's talked about how he doesn't want to leave. So I think there's absolutely a world he would sign an extension in Arizona moving forward. So there's that option. And then if they don't get the package they want for him, you just mentioned it. Then you get a first-round pick instead if he leaves. An absolute worst-case scenario. If you don't trade Gino and then he walks in free agency, you're obviously not letting him walk without offering him the qualifying offer. So if he turns that down and ends up signing somewhere else, you still get a first-round pick back. So the longer this thing drags out, and with us only having, when this episode comes out, 3 days till the trade deadline, yeah, I think there is a world that could happen. Am I saying Gino is definitively not getting traded? No. But I'm starting to think the Diamondbacks would swallow the fact that they do not have to trade Gino. They would keep him and either give him a contract in free agency or get the comp pick if he walks and goes somewhere else at the end of the year.
And the more I look at this trade package, the more I think the more I look at the reports of what the Diamondbacks are asking for, the more I think that's realistic. Because I'm just going to be frank, that trade package for a rental, I don't care how many home runs you have, is fucking insane.
But if you're the Yankees, okay, but if you're the Yankees and the big league player is Cam Schlittler and the AA to AAA high-end prospect is Spencer Jones, and then there's one lottery ticket, is that insane? Because that's the package that was floated out there for the Yankees.
Is it Cam Schlittler or maybe Ben Rice?
Ben Rice might be a lot for 2 months of Gino.
That's what I'm saying. But I've seen I've seen the reports that Ben Rice could be available for the Yankees this deadline. Maybe not anymore that they got their third baseman. But if they're willing to make him available, trading Ben Rice for 2 months of Gino just kind of seems crazy.
Although he is their version of Luke Raley in a lot of ways. So, yeah.
Right. So maybe a Yankee fan would say the same thing to the Mariners. It's like Luke Raley could put up a 800 OPS or 750 OPS for you and play 120 games in the outfield, be a good athlete, solid defender, and you're going to give that away for 2 months of Gino? And what if it's the two coldest months of the season?
you just beat me right to the punchline, which I was going to say. For as much as people love Gino around here, and he is a fan favorite, and he is beloved, and people will be so happy to have him back, and I understand that for every good reason, and you should feel those ways. You shouldn't do anything less than feel those ways. But the one thing that probably hasn't been talked about quite enough, whether it's by us or by the masses, is we know Gino's really streaky, and he's right at the peak of his hot streak right now. Is there any chance that whatever team trades for him gets 2 months of him putting up a 78 WRC plus, puts up a 680 OPS? I mean, it's possible, right? He'd move out of Chase Field, which is incredibly hitter friendly. He'd go somewhere else, change of scenery in the middle of the year. I don't know. Gino's never been traded in the middle of the year, as far as I know. When he went from Detroit to Cincinnati, maybe that was in the middle of the year. Maybe that was after the year. Point being, we know when he went from Cincinnati to Seattle, it was off-season. Seattle to Arizona was off-season. You have more time to prepare for it.
It doesn't even matter if let's say it's not even awful. Let's say instead of doing what he's currently doing right now, you only get like a 105 WRC plus. And it's like, we traded Luke Raley for 2 months of a 105. That's about what he put up his final season in Seattle. Power aside, the offensive production was roughly that.
Well,
I think it might have been a 107 WRC plus. If you get that for 2 months, was that worth it? Like, is that enough of an impact for you? That's what these president of baseball operations look at when they're going to make these trades. Even if you and I say we wouldn't make a trade and it wouldn't make much of a blip on the Mariners farm system, when I look at that, Lyle, Jerry's not making that trade. He's not trading a big leaguer for 2 months of Gino.
Even if he knows the jobs could be on the line?
I don't think so.
Just bad process, and that's why he wouldn't do it? That's what you think?
They've been pretty consistent with their process, no matter what kind of scenario there is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that would essentially be trading 2 months. That would essentially be trading Luke Raley for 2 months of Luke Raley. Because there's a lot of 2 month stretches where Luke Raley is about a 105 to 110 WRC plus hitter. So yeah, that wouldn't be great. And also, Gino's defense hasn't been very good.
No. Mm-mm. And you can't like stick Ben Williamson out in the outfield and just replace Luke Raley's defense in the outfield. That's not going to be a thing. You're not going to do that with Gino either. So then you have a spot on your roster you can't just fill. It's not easy decisions at the deadline. Like, that's why these guys make so much money to make some of these decisions, because when you think that if you don't get this guy and he could be the difference between you and a playoff spot, and if you don't make the playoffs, you could be fired, but the price to get him is incredibly high. I mean, it's an insane decision. It's tough.
Really tough. I think we're in for a hell of a final 72 hours, because, again, almost nothing's happened. We've had the Naylor trade. We had Ryan McMahon get traded. Aside from that, there hasn't been a lot. Like, we're sitting here talking about Randall Grichuk.
I'm going to give myself a pat on the back, and Major League Baseball a pat on the back. Remember last week I mentioned I'd made plans this weekend, and I was really worried Jerry was going to swing this massive trade while I was away from my computer? Nothing happened. Didn't miss anything. But you know what I'm going to do these next 3 days or next 3.5 days as we lead up to the deadline? Absolutely nothing.
I was going to say, I think it's pretty safe to say the two of us are going to be pretty non-AFK for the next few days leading up to the trade deadline. AFK, for those not familiar, away from keyboard. In other words, we're not going to be far from our keyboards. I think we're going to be pretty close. We're going to be scrolling, and we're going to be checking, and we're going to be updating every 5 minutes. If that might even be too little. Because this is when it's going to get serious. This is when, you know how Ryan Divish always used to have those things happen to him where he'd go and play basketball at the YMCA and the Mariners would make a trade in the offseason and he'd start bitching on Twitter. It's like, I hate you, Mariners, or whatever. It's like, why don't you ever let me play a basketball game in peace? I think TJ and I are going to avoid that the next few days, where it's like, yeah, we're going to be pretty locked and loaded because we know trades could be coming. So we're going to be pretty prepared for it. Like, for example, I know oftentimes we'll record our Wednesday episodes Monday night, and often we have an interview too that's just, added to on top of our first 20 minutes of podcasting. Well, we're saving any interviews this week. We're not doing any this week because we're trying to prepare for trades that could go down. And tentatively right now, we said, look, I think we're going to record on Tuesday night our Wednesday podcast because we're trying to wait out any trades as long as possible. So we don't have the worry of trying to record a podcast. It's totally irrelevant. We scrap it because then a trade happens and we got to do a whole new one. So we're trying to wait out these trades here.
Come on, Jerry.
I know. I know. It's going to be an interesting final few days. And then obviously Friday's episode will be recapping the trade deadline. Whatever they do, don't do, that'll be the episode because the deadline ends Thursday afternoon. So
yeah, 3 p.m. It's perfect for us. We can record right after that.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's end on a bit more of a positive note, Lyle. Ichiro was inducted into the Hall of Fame today, and he gave a very, very, very nice speech there in Cooperstown. How much of it did you get to watch? Because I saw a lot more of it after the fact. Did you get to watch any of it?
I watched all of it.
Good. That's good. You're a better podcast host than I am.
So, well, maybe I'm a better podcast host. Maybe stupid Major League Baseball only put their game on Roku today, so I couldn't actually watch the Mariners. So as a result, I'm just sitting there waiting for Ichiro to make his Hall of Fame speech. Because that was a thing today. The game was not on Root. It was only on, you had to have like a Roku device to watch the game.
It was on MLB TV too, with no blackout.
Oh, good, but it's blacked out.
With no blackout.
Wait, I could have watched the game on MLB TV today, but with no blackout?
Dude, I was sitting in the middle of the river. I could actually pull it up on my phone because I have MLB TV.
Yeah, TJ was floating down the river on Sunday. He was tubing, but I
was watching the game too. I was working. Don't think I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, it was on MLB TV today.
You gotta be kidding.
Goldie tweeted it out.
You gotta be kidding. So I could have been watching the speech and the game at the same time.
Yes.
Dude, I legitimately thought you just couldn't watch the game. I was ready to like go on a Michael K. Don LaGreca type rant on this podcast about how you couldn't watch the game.
Sorry, dog. Here's the thing. Ready? You didn't miss much.
Oh, really? I thought it was a game of the year.
Unless you wanted to watch Cal Raleigh's 41st home run. Yeah, you didn't. You did not miss anything. Congratulations. Lyle has officially reached the grandpa status of not being able to figure out how to watch the game.
Well, similar to you with the Ichiro speech. All I had to do for seeing Cal Raleigh's highlights was see it after. It was on Twitter. I watched it for 30 seconds, and I didn't miss much of the rest of the game.
Glad this podcast had both parts of the Mariners' day covered today. Great.
It's true. No, Ichiro's speech was awesome. Maybe we're biased, but that might be one of the best ones I've ever heard. Well, first off, that is, as far as I know, the longest he's ever talked publicly in English. And he killed it, by the way. He did an awesome job. Speech was flawless because he mixed in, you know how they talk? I mean, I say this as if I have any idea about wedding speeches. I don't have the first clue. But they do say with wedding speeches, right, that like when people give them, the best ones are the ones that have humor mixed in with some really nice stories too. That's essentially what Ichiro's was, because he told all these nice stories and he talked about perseverance and he talked about hard work and he talked about never giving up, and all that was mixed in, and he credited, he talked about all his, these great teammates that he had and coaches that he had, and like he gave a nice tribute to his wife, but then he's telling all these hilarious stories too. It was great. I mean, he basically, out of self-deprecation, called himself a dumbass. So, like, I'll just read you the tweet that I put out, because there was a lot of nice things put out through that speech. But the three things that really made me laugh, number one was that he took an absolute shot at that writer that didn't vote for him. Mm-hmm. And that was the one that really made headlines. He said, "To that writer who I offered to come have dinner at my house for not voting for me, I want you to know it's now expired." That was really funny. So shout out to Ichiro on that. Number two, this also made waves. He very loudly did a Rick Riz Holy Smokes homage. That was really cool. He said he would have his arm ready and he'd be fully ready to go by every spring training down in Arizona, and he'd be waiting to hear Rick Riz say, "Holy smokes, what a throw by Ichiro." I thought that was awesome. Number two. And number three, this one didn't get as much traction, and I'm shocked it didn't, because this one made me laugh out loud. He totally name-dropped Bob Costas and referenced that infamous interview he did way back early in his career about when he said August in Kansas City is hotter than 2 rats in a fucking wool sock.
Yeah.
He absolutely referenced that because what he, during that interview, 20 plus years ago now, Ichiro, so the backstory to that is Costas asked Ichiro what his favorite American saying was. And that's what Ichiro said, which, by the way, I think he's the only person I've ever heard drop that line. I've never, ever heard that anywhere else. But Ichiro's laughing after he says that during that interview 20 plus years ago. And he said, I have bad teammates. He's like, I really have bad teammates because clearly they told him to say something like that in the interview. Well, fast forward to his Hall of Fame speech. And I think he's given a tribute to a bunch of his teammates, if I have it right. But the punchline here was he said, I have bad teammates, right, Bob Costas? And I was like, oh, I got that reference. I was like, that was really good. And I don't know if everybody picked up on that, but that was really good. So hell of a speech by Ichiro. That was like, it was well worth the wait. I'm glad they saved him for the end. He absolutely killed it. And yeah, it was a pretty cool afternoon all around.
I think this speech was for the entire public that was just waiting the 24 years since he's debuted to fully see his personality. Some people, like beat writers, broadcasters, probably get to see a lot more of Ichiro's personality than the general public would. They'd have less of an idea of what Ichiro's like. I mean, they hear stories and such, but they don't get to actually hear it from his mouth. So I thought this was a fantastic opportunity to hear that, and he crushed it. Yeah. Again, second language for him, not as comfortable, I think, speaking English in a public setting, but clearly he practiced this speech a lot, and he crushed it. He did a great job. Yeah. It's awesome to see that moment for the Mariners, to get that guy in the Hall of Fame wearing a Mariners cap. They took a chance on him, and he was just unbelievable. It's been an absolute blessing for the franchise. Can I say this, by the way? Shout out to the one pod, I don't know, listener or follower who recognized my brother at Cooperstown this weekend. That was pretty cool. Said, hey, Marine Layer Pod. And he's like, not quite. Close enough. So that was cool.
I'm shocked that you two don't get mixed up more. I'm honest. I mean, your brother does live in New York City, to be fair, so it's not like there's Mariners fans just flowing throughout the streets of Manhattan. But when he's in Seattle, I am shocked that it hasn't happened more times where if he's walking on his own, somebody's not like, oh, what's up, TJ? And it's like, well, no. For those who don't know, TJ has a very identical twin.
Mm-hmm. Or even like my favorite one that people do. It's like, oh, that podcast.
Yeah.
So that he didn't tell me exactly how it went down, but I was like, oh, in Cooperstown, like all the Mariner fans there. Someone made the estimation that it was like 10-1 Mariners fans to other people. So like, I'm not surprised that someone saw him, but I think that's super cool, and we have the best listeners and followers in the world to see that. Cooperstown, New York, tiny small village in the middle of nowhere, for the Baseball Hall of Fame. I thought that was cool.
That's sick. Do people do that? Do you guys say, oh, that podcast?
Yeah, they do it to us.
Oh, I guess that's true. I guess that happens sometimes. Like the people that see us.
Oh, I see you on TikTok. I see you on Instagram.
That's true. For the people that see a lot of our stuff just on social media and don't always like listen to the full episodes. Yeah, you're right. That does happen.
Mariner Layers. It's like, sure.
That's happened like once or twice. Most people know the name. Like the Mariner Layer things maybe happen a couple times. Like I said, it's not a lot, but
I do
anyway,
get a chuckle out of it, but it's good.
That was really cool that your brother got recognized like that. So yeah, shout out to you guys. Shout out to all of our fans, listeners, as always. But most importantly, shout out to Ichiro. That was awesome to see. I also really like CC's speech. Just a quick little side note. I was always a big CC Sabathia fan. I still am. I think he's awesome in the media. He seems like a super fun personality, and he did a really good speech too. So shout out him. Shout out Billy Wagner. We talked about it back in January. I've been vouching for that guy to get in forever, so I'm glad he finally got his recognition. But obviously, as a Mariners podcast, this is about Ichiro, and Ichiro crushed that speech. So shout out to him. That was awesome. All right, I think that wraps up this edition of the Marine Layer podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to listen to the full form podcast, you can do so wherever you get your audio pods. Make sure to download, rate, and review. Please leave 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, hit that subscribe button. You guys see it in front of you. It's big, it's red, it's very easy to see, and by clicking it, it really does help the channel. It takes like half a second. It takes like half a second to click, you guys. So why not just hit the button? It really does help. You can find all our stuff on our website, marinelayerpod.com, merch, Patreon, upcoming live show schedules, etc. It's all a one-stop shop. And then you can follow us across social media at Marine Layer Pod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.